Alright, so this is the lower section of the cabinet, mostly built. As you can see, I've used all recycled materials all the way through. The side panels, for example, are from an old set of bedroom drawers. You can see some of the drawers there under the bench. And the plywood is just narrow 3-ply. It's from used to be from a building renovation. It was fitted out temporarily for accommodation and then all stripped down. So I got all the plywood, got a stack of it still in my shed. So that's been good for the front and the back. The cross rails, they're old skirting boards and fascia panels from a gym across the road. I managed to score them, and if you look in my storage area, which is rather cluttered at the moment, you can see a whole bunch of panels there. So those panels will form the work surface of the workstation, the side table, probably also the stand for the side table as well. So you can see here, I mean, this is definitely a set of drawers. You can see all the screw marks there for the drawer runners, and one of these mounting these, which are left in place just to fill the hole. And you still see the dowel holes, but once it's all puttied up and all painted and everything, none of that's going to matter. What's going to matter is the finished product, of course. And it's always good to be able to recycle, reuse. You can see, the rails. I put the brackets on before mounting the rails on, so it made the job a bit easier. Anyway, that's it. So the next step, I've been 3D printing the fancy 1960s era mesh access panel that goes in this front sloping panel here. So I've got to just glue the last two sections on. I've been printing it in, because of the size of my printer, obviously I can't print something this big. So I've been printing it, I think, 18 by 18 centimeters, something like that. And so 8 of those together make up the full panel, and they're gluing together beautifully. It looks really, really nice. And I'll put the top on, and as you saw earlier, these side panels, I cut them together, the 3 of them. So I've then got the back, if you like, of the side table, because if you look at the drawings in the post, you'll see that it's a sideways facing shelf, not a frontwards facing shelf. So what is the side of this cabinet is the back of the shelf that will be here, and the table that will come this way. And of course then I've also got to build a cabinet on that side, and I'll no doubt be using more of that stuff in there to do it. Anyway, that's my Star Trek inspired workstation. Of course the original series, not the later versions. I've gone for the genuine one. So for those of you who like the later versions, sorry. I like the original. Anyhow, I think the reasons for choosing this style is more, not just because I like the show and everything else. I mean, you can see here, oopsie daisy, it's very top heavy at the moment. And there goes my plants. So covered in sweat at the moment, but you can see here, I had at one point decided to square that up. I decided not to. I was going to butt the cabinet under here, because I've got a pillar in the corner of the room, but it's not that big, so I'm going to just bring the cabinet all the way in as far as I can go and just have it like hidden space, accessible, but things that I can store away that I don't need very often can just go in, tuck in there. So the table will butt up against the right hand side. Wrong way. Where is the, oh no, that's the other pad. Here we go. Covered in sweat, sorry. So this is what I mean. This table will butt against the side here, but what is the side panel is the back panel of that shelf. Overall, I think it's going to be very nice. The reason why I chose it isn't just because I like Star Trek. I mean, it's a very practical thing. I mean, you look at this cabinet, right? You look at that. I'm going to put pegs. In fact, I've got them here. Here we go. I 3D designed and 3D printed these pegs. These can go here on the back, and onto those I can screw the motherboard directly. Okay, I don't need a PC frame or anything like that in here anymore. I can do away with that entirely. So I can mount the motherboard there. And with these kinds of brackets, which I found through thingiverse.com, they've got double screw and single screw. I can use these to mount the hard drives and all the other stuff that, you know, the power supply maybe. Although I have downloaded the separate bracket for that, but if these work, I'll use them. So I printed too many. I can probably also use them for just mounting the cables, you know, just mount that there with zip ties. I can put cables on top, you know, all the wiring for connecting all the devices. So what I've got here is a large open space, which will be very good for cooling, which in Thailand is a big issue with computers. So I live in Phuket, so I'm not that far from the equator. That's why everything's covered in sweat. And yeah, with that big grill on the front, it's going to be very good for keeping cool and also for keeping clean. We have dogs, and one of them's a husky cross, and at the moment she is shedding. Oh look, let me show you. You see that mess on the floor? All that hair? There it is, sorry, by the ball. All that hair. More than that will come off my husky in less than a day. So it's going to be much easier to keep my PC clean using a vacuum cleaner with this design than a normal tower, I would imagine. So there's a lot of practical concerns, which made me decide on this kind of thing. It's very tidy. If for nothing else, I simply got sick and tired of having a separate tower on or under my desk. It just gets messy. So I'm tired of it. So if I could have a cabinet where everything's inside, that's just all the better. You can see here for the monitor. Now that's in basic design is loosely inspired by the conference room monitor in the original unaired pilot called The Menagerie. No, The Cage, sorry. Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Christopher Pike. Only once is that briefing room used, and only once do we see that big monitor, but it actually looks something like this, albeit with a curved CRT screen, old TV style, not the modern flat screen. And mine's not just a modern flat screen. I recently found a 31.5-inch curved screen Acer monitor, which is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to sit the monitor on here, and I'm going to on top, on its stand. I'm not going to screw it in or anything. I'm just going to sit it on the desk, on its stand, and then I'm going to carefully make this like shroud, if you like. It's just going to be a decorative feature more than functional. It's just going to sit there to look the part, but also provide shelf space on top as well, which will be really nice. Maybe my Star Trek models can go on top. So yeah, lots to do yet. With this COVID-19 crisis at the moment, all the lockdowns that are happening, I can't even get to a store right now to get my grey paint. So I'll probably just paint it white for the time being, and maybe in a couple of months or month, whenever it all settles down and the shop's open again, I'll go and top coat it in that nice neutral grey. Anyway, that's me. That's stage 1 of my Star Trek workstation, Star Trek themed workstation build. I'm actually calling it Creative Imagineering. I needed a name. There's captain's quarters, there's the bridge, there's the sick bay, there's engineering, there's all these different rooms, there's the shuttle bay. I needed a name. So since this is partly inspired by the bridge, partly inspired by engineering, partly inspired by Kirk's quarters, I decided to call it Creative Imagineering. Creative because this is a place where I want to be creative. I want to do all sorts of things. I like to write, I like to build models, I like to do all sorts of things. So this is going to be not just an office space, but my personal creative space. So that's me signing off. That's episode 1. See you next time.